All right. All right. Give me 1 second to check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll take a second. We are okay. So, hello everyone to a new episode of Z.I.P Talks. Today we have Team Don't Blink from New Jersey. And to start off with an introduction, my name is Anoop. I'm the co-captain and I'm the CAD and mechanical lead for our team.
My name is Ankita. I'm a junior and I'm the business lead on the team.
Hi, I'm Neil. I'm a mechanical member on Don't Blink, and I'm going to be a sophomore next year.
Cool. I'm Arnav. I'm a rising junior, and I'm the current captain of Don't Blink.
I'm Jay. I'm a rising senior, and I'm strat lead for our team.
All right, thank you so much. So, to begin with, could you tell us a little bit about your team? Like, just about who you are, how long you've been a team, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been a team for about 5, almost 6 years now. It was started in 2018. I don't think any of us were there when the team was originally founded, because I joined like mid ultimate goal. And when did you join, Neil?
I joined after Freight Frenzy, but I remember I used to be on an FLL team that went to the same place as Don't Blink, and I remember them coming in. So it's kind of crazy how now I'm on the team and how it's evolved over time. So.
Yeah, and then I think Ajay joined around the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ajay joined a little bit after me, I would say, just later on.
Yeah, so we're an independent robotics team based in Plainsboro. We don't have any affiliation with our nearby schools, and we just have our own makerspace where we just go in and do robotics, I guess.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it about our team.
All right, that's cool. We're just gonna re-verify that we're fully streaming. Let me just check. Give us 1 second. I think we're also having some technical difficulties. Yeah, okay. All right, give us 1 second.
Okay, yeah, Anoop, it is live. I saw it. So I know you guys said you're a community team. Where did you guys say that you guys meet?
Yeah, so we have our own makerspace in Plainsboro, New Jersey.
We are based out of Princeton STEM Academy, so we have meetings on every Saturday around 2 or something, and we meet here every Saturday, and then throughout the week we'll come in right after school or skip a little bit of school to come in a little early, and then just build the robot and stay there until 8 o'clock every day, just building and stuff.
Yeah, we're a community team too. So we actually meet in our coach's patio. So we've overrun her whole patio of just robotics stuff with the field and everything. And we meet Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And as competitions go by, I know Navneet can tell you they're staying from school till 3 a.m. So it's the same thing.
So how many of y'all are on the team? In your total team?
Yeah, so as of now we have 12 members on our team. So it's definitely a lot, but it's good because I feel one good part of FTC is that everybody has the ability to get exposure to the robot and everything. So definitely good.
All right, that's cool. So let's get into a little bit about your robot. So,
Sure.
how many iterations throughout the entire season have you had? Like complete road iterations.
Far enough.
For
Oh man. So I don't know if you guys know this, but this is actually our Jadoo V2. So we had a robot before this, prior to the World's Championship that we brought to States. But after qualifying for Worlds, we were like, maybe this it's not as competitive for the world stage, so we just rebuilt. We maintained the same archetype, but we completely rebuilt the robot. So for as far as each individual mechanism goes, we have our intake claw, our like wrist mechanism on our intake claw, our outtake, our transfer, our double reverse four bar, all of that. So like we've gone through like I think collectively over 50, 60 iterations. Like if you take all the iterations on each subsystem and combine them, it's like probably more than 60 now. So it's a lot, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know for us, we've had definitely iterations on each subsystem, but we've had three main robots. Like the one that we took all the league meets that we iteratively built, and then one complete like differently robot for states, and then one we did for worlds. So, what was like the major changes that you were making throughout the season? Like, was it on your outtake specifically, or intake, or whole system? Or
So the way we went about that is like, for the first half of the season prior to Worlds, we didn't really change our robot that much. It was just kind of small changes we made, like around like, oh, we're gonna make our claw a little bit more like in like this, so that when we pick up, like we had lots of issues with picking cones up against walls. Later on, it was like the clearance we had inside in the middle of our robot, because the DR4B was in there and our linkage for our slides was inside of like the middle of the robot. We didn't have that much space. So after we like started making our V2, we realized like, oh, we should definitely move these out. So now they're kind of a part of the pods on either side of the robot. And that's like the main iteration I would say that we made. There's like definitely other ones, but that's like the main thing that changed a lot for us. Like just giving that clearance in the middle.
okay, that's super cool. So, one of the things I noticed about your robot is it's like completely metal. So, was that like a specific design change that you wanted? That you want to like avoid 3D printed parts or other like Lexan, other types of plastics, or was this like a focus that you had from the very beginning of the season that you wanted each part of the robot be super like rigid and made out of metal like that? Was that like a specific design choice that you made?
Yeah, so obviously we use 3D printing throughout the season, but I think last year what happened is we have a CNC in our makerspace, and we finally found out how to like use it properly and effectively and efficiently and all that. So we were like, all right, instead of using sen cut sen as we've done in the past, we're like, let's just cut our own parts. I think we've always had this idea of having like metal components on our robot in the sense of like our outer plates and our mechanisms. For 3D printing, we mainly printed like either mounts for certain pieces, like a distance sensor when we were prototyping or prototyping on the robot, or like our gears mainly. We use like herringbone or double helical gears in our robot to prevent skipping. So we just print those.
So I know you all said that you guys have like different like iterations throughout the season and everything. So like how do you guys go about like why you should change something, and like what makes you guys decide like this is why you should change it, and like your strategy and like the design process through it?
I mean, I think that just comes down to the design process, like the design process that we follow. So when we're like going through and like seeing how things work after we put them all together, we test it all and we say, okay, so we see that this maybe doesn't have that much range, or like every time this comes down, this is hitting this, or like we need something to stop our intake mechanism from going down a certain amount. So it always goes down the same amount, right? So like you see these little things like based on how the robot works after putting it all together, and then you change parts or add new parts in order to like make iterations on what you have. So that's just how we went about it. Like that's how the design process worked for us.
So, do you like make your robot changes as a collective team decision, and do you plan out the timeline for your robot changes? Because I know one of the struggles we've had is changing our robot right before competition, making some major design changes. So how do you plan around that? Do you like give a set deadline, like 2 weeks before the robot has to be finished, or give a certain amount of time for driver practice, coding, auto, stuff like that? So how do you plan around that?
So all the things you listed like 2 weeks before everything is stuff we should be doing, but like we haven't really been, that like good about sticking to it. So I think we we don't really have a deadline in that sense. Like I think we've kind of strayed away from making major design changes like right before competitions because we've learned from the past we've done that and it hasn't really worked out well for us. I mean, for Worlds it worked out, but like the league and like the local tournaments like states and all that. So yeah, we should stick to deadlines, but we don't. So it just works
But
out.
but we yeah, it's just tend to work out in the past, but like in the future, in the next coming seasons, we definitely want to make sure that like we stick to some deadlines. We want to make sure, but like this year before Worlds, our robot was just not up to par to like what could compete with other robots. Like if we went to Worlds with the robot that we had, it just would not have worked out the same way at all. And it like changing it was really just necessary. So that's why we like just took the plunge and we just made it. Like
Yeah,
despite whatever time limit we passed.
that's that's understandable. So like, what was the major issue you had at States that made you see that you wanted to change it this drastically for Worlds?
So I think at least as far as like the mechanical issues go, so we have our double reverse four bar, our like vertical extension. It's controlled by these two linkages on like either drive pod. So the issue was that I think in a couple of our matches, so on our when we click init, our DR4B doesn't reset through the initialization. What it does is whatever position it lands in at the end of our autonomous is what it uses as like the zero position during telly. So I think in a couple of our matches it got stuck, and what happened was the linkages ended up being like they weren't actually synced at the beginning, so it was causing a lot of issues. And since it's an over center linkage, one of them mechanically locked, which basically doomed us for the entire match. So we were like, all right, there are a couple of things we got to fix. So that was one of them. We mechanically synced that linkage. Another thing was we noticed that our slides were too low, and during auto we would try to grab a cone and it would slip out and get stuck, getting us a lot of penalties and messing up our auto. So we decided to raise the intake slides, move everything out like Neil said before, move everything to the outside of the robot to have more clearance on the inside to prevent getting pens and all that getting stuck. Added a ramp on the inside and all that stuff. So
We
like I said,
also
we maintained the same archetype and everything. Like we had, the like a dual linkage we have three SAR 230s on our horizontal extension. So just extending that out, maintain that same archetype with the double reverse four bar. We just move some things outside basically.
yeah, everything just like became a lot cleaner. Like we wanted to make sure something that Arnav said like that went wrong a lot was just like our DR4B not like being exactly synced.
Synced. Yep.
And so we like put an axle or shaft across to make sure that it's always at the same level. So that's just one thing that we definitely want to make sure it stayed the same. We added rev encoders on both our DR4B and on our slides. Um, I guess yeah, we changed our outtake claw to a loony claw. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see, like you mentioned your outtake, your overcentering linkage. I also watched your behind the bot on Fun, and you mentioned that, and I think it's a super smart idea about the overcentering linkage, so you don't have to draw current from the motor when it's completely up. And that's like one of the main issues that we've had with our robot. We just have normal linear slides, and to hold it that position, it draws so much power from the battery that we don't have that much current. So that was a super smart decision on your guys' robot. So was that the overcentering linkages on the outtake something you had from the very beginning, or did that you add it for states or worlds?
I think we had the idea in our head before we did this V2 like rebuild. I just don't think we like built it properly.
Yeah, like the
In the sense of
geometry of the the linkage just wasn't that great. So like when it went to a certain point, it just like it just could have been better. It could have been more rigid as well. Like it came apart very often.
Yeah, but that's another thing. Like that's something you get as a result of making mistakes and learning through your mistakes and iterating it properly. So that's actually another thing we iterated too. So I guess.
Yeah. Did you guys? Sorry. Did you guys counterspring your slides? Counterspring is what it's called. Right?
I mean, not really. We had like tensioners on the like.
Wait, is counterspring the right term?
I'm not sure about that, but
Yeah,
all I
but
know
that's
is we.
fine. Whatever. Yeah. My fault.
Um. So the way that we like basically build our robots, and we've been doing this for a while, is that before we actually even start to build anything, we CAD everything out. We just dedicate some time and just CAD everything out. Like we use Onshape, we make sure all the clearances are good, all the parts we need are functioning, all of that. You can even run simulations on Onshapes. There's some like feature scripts and stuff for that. So we basically do that to make sure everything works. And obviously we've been doing this for some time. So we cut all the parts in our CNC and then just threw it all together basically.
I guess the CNCing was the worst part. Like
Yeah. I mean, we did learn a lot through it, definitely, but like, broke a couple bits and all that. So
that was
So on your autonomous, what was your world's autonomous? Was it a 1v like a preload and a 5 stack? I forgot all the terminology.
1+5.
1+5.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay, did you find that super consistent with your grabbing? Like how many what was your like process to always making sure you're grabbing in the right spot? Because I know the world's like fields itself are off centered by like half an inch on some fields, and I know there's some issues with that. I know our team personally struggled always trying to get like the perfect alignment on the pickup. So how did you guys combat that with your robot to make sure that you guys had a consistent auto like that?
Yeah, so in Worlds we ran a 1+5 auto. So one of the things that helped us especially through our iterations is that initially like we had a claw, we sort of had a loony claw intake, but it didn't work as we wanted to. So what we did was we made something called a wide margin claw. So instead of grabbing it like this, it grabs it like this. So it's much more effective and has like a larger range. So you can have it very open and then you can close it more accurately, I guess. So
Better.
that's something that helped us with, it doesn't have to be as perfect, which increases your efficiency more. And then to make sure that we're placing on the poles, we have our V guide. I don't know if you guys saw that. We have our mechanical V guide. It just vectors the pole into a certain position every time. Just maintains our consistency when we're placing. And then, just overall consistency, just tuning, man. It's just tuning. We had some field set up, 5 in the morning, the day of elims.
There was one thing that we found really useful towards like for worlds in our claw. We made this little like indent in the back of it to make sure that the end of the claw didn't touch the wall when we were picking it up. And we had like lots of issues with like picking up cones against the wall. So that little indent made it so that the claw didn't go all the way to the end of the wall. Like it didn't touch the wall while we were picking up the cone. And it like allowed us to pick up cones against the wall really easily. I think that also benefited us during our auto. So that was really good.
We had someone also ask like a question in the chat. They said, what type of 3D printers do you guys use? Because they saw that you have a 3D printer like behind you. So
Yeah, so Neil's sitting right now in our like 3D printing sort of like room that we have. So that right there is a Prusa i3, I think. That's a FlashForge Adventure 4. And then we also have this like really old like MakerBot, but like we don't use it that much anymore. And then personally, I have a FlashForge Adventure 3 in my house, so I found like a lot of like success. It's a really good and easy to use printer. Like I've worked with enders in the past and all that, which is typically a common choice. But there's like so many leveling different things and all that stuff. So like FlashForge is a really easy to use.
Yeah. So I also wanted to talk about a little about your outtake. Was your uh double reverse four bar, was that a design choice you made from the beginning as opposed to using normal linear slides for outtake? As we've seen a couple teams do at Worlds. So is that something you had from the very beginning?
Yeah. So I think obviously we definitely considered having like angled slides or just vertical slides for extension, but I think the main design goal was that we wanted a robot to be, you know, efficient and fast and like reliable and all that. So previously, like stringing and all that stuff, we haven't found much like success in that. It's really irritating to do, and if your string breaks, there's a lot of restringing. We've seen a lot of teams go through that. So we thought, a double reverse four bar, you have like a plate at the top. It keeps it parallel, so it basically achieves the same end goal as vertical or angled linear slides, but it's just easier for us, I guess you could say. There's no, annoying string or anything to deal with.
Yeah, I know we're one of those teams you mentioned that's struggling with stringing all up until Worlds. Even at Worlds in the practice fields, we're constantly restringing. So we're probably gonna venture in for next season if the challenge requires it. Maybe stray away from linear slides because we've had some issues with that, or maybe do
Yeah,
some
might be a
tests.
shooting game.
Yeah. So, do you have any off-scene preparation actually that you're doing right now to prepare for the upcoming season?
Me myself, and like obviously everyone on the team has been like assigned something to do. So we're like making our team plan right now because many people are leaving the team, right? Like 6 seniors are leaving, so all of us like kind of rookies. Like I have 3 years of FTC experience now, or yeah, but I need to obviously like better everything because so many people are leaving. So all of us are kind of like making our own robots in CAD because I think Don't Blink really like we really prioritize CAD before we build the robot just to design everything out. So right now, since we know it's a shooting game next year, right now I'm making a full ultimate goal robot. And Arnav is, I think, Runbeer, another person on our team is, Ajay probably is. Like everyone is, catting and just making things. So
Yeah, so basically like so we have 6 seniors actually leaving before next season. So obviously that's a lot of people, yeah. So we have a new wave of a wave of new people on our team. So basically we're all like, getting them ready. We want to make sure that everyone has the skills necessary to progress quickly for the next season and all that. So like stuff like that. I mean, like me personally, I'm messing around with the CNC, see if you can get like countersinking holes and all that stuff in our G code. So like just messing around with different tools and make sure we're all set for the season.
yeah.
Okay, so was that oh yeah, maybe you can go ahead.
So we have already so we host like a lot like many different open houses for Princeton STEM Academy during the school year, during summer, and people are just like constantly coming in, and we have several FLL teams that we've started over the past couple of years and like this year itself. So and then teams that like people from those FLL teams that like grow up and like start like then we see the potential and then we see like okay these guys are like really like catching on to everything, and then like people that from other FTC teams that like want to like explore different things and explore CNC and explore like a little bit of manufacturing and like things like that and like just marketing outside like putting up papers and things just to show like okay we're looking for people, right? um, just things like that and like talking on FTC Discord. But I don't think we're going to be recruiting that many more people because we're like pretty full. We have space for a couple more, but
Yeah, we have 12 people excluding the leaving seniors. So
Yeah.
like yeah. Just want to clear up any confusion.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So like,
That's what I was confused about. Yeah.
so yeah, we like probably even before they even like left, we started recruiting. We're not the only team in our makerspace. We have
Four other now.
four sister teams. Yeah. So we have, we actually got Neil from one of our sister teams. So, and then Ajay, we met through. He actually doesn't live in Plainsboro. He lives in another area. So that's like an example of through the FTC Discord and connection and all that. So
That's literally.
Yeah, so how do you split your team? So how's your team split between like the technical and non-technical? As we know, Robot is kind of half of FTC. You have the notebook, business, outreach, all that sort of stuff. So how's your team split between those two aspects?
yeah, so we we have this sort of philosophy that like everyone does everything. So obviously everyone has their own specialties, like whether it be outreach, programming, mechanical, CAD, all that stuff, right? But we want to make sure everyone can contribute where they can, especially with outreach. Outreach doesn't really require any like technical, like programming or mechanical skills. So we try to get everyone involved in that when we can. But other than that, we just have like mechanical, programming, and outreach. Those are like the three, just like umbrella terms of our sub teams, and then we just have like little things in that. But everyone basically does everything.
Yeah. Like I'm a mechanical member, but right now like I'm doing an outreach, like outside. And like last week, I was doing an outreach. So it's just like it really just depends on like what you want to do and like how involved you get. Like, everyone does everything.
Yeah, totally. I think our team tries to embody that also. I think Sai was or Keith was gonna say something.
Yeah, like we do the same thing. Like I know we went. Well, I didn't go, but I know Navita and Nuke went to an outreach event like a couple of weeks ago, and then we hosted like a zip camp, so like an online summer camp throughout the summer. But I know you guys were talking about how like you have 6 seniors leaving, and then you have like a bunch of like a new wave of like new members. How do you guys go about like training them? Like, what's that training process look like?
Yeah, so not only so we like to help out when we can, like we have certain skills other younger teams may not have. So we hold like CAD classes, we have programming classes, and then now that they're part of our team, they can get into like the more advanced stuff in FTC, like custom manufacturing, CNC, and all of that. So we have like slide decks and classes and presentations for programming and for CAD and all that stuff. And then that's for anybody who wants to join, whether it be new people on our team or teams like people from our sister teams and all that. So they can definitely join that as well. But now that they're part of our team, we can definitely introduce them to more advanced topics and stuff like that. So it's kind of just like being part of the team. Obviously we try to give them as much exposure as they can, involve them in everything. So.
And
Okay.
Slides.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we have something similar where we train our new recruits through we call the process Z.I.P training. Try to brand all over things. So yeah. So I had a question. Do you know how much your robot costs?
Yeah.
That's
maybe like throughout the season costs. Like I know you incur costs incrementally throughout the league meets and such. So do you know how like it costs for that?
Yeah, so I think the overall cost was like 6,000, 7,000, right?
I think that's a collective of both rebuilds.
Oh, is that of both rebuilds?
Yeah. So obviously our V2 rebuild, it's a lot of metal, so we had to buy a lot of aluminum stock and all that. So that costs a lot of money. The same could go for the first one. We use a little bit less, metal on that one, more 3D printing parts and like COTS parts, but definitely. So I think I don't know the exact. I think it's around like 3K or 2.5K for the first one. I might be wrong, and then
the rest of 7.
Yeah, for the last one, because we have Axons on there too, and those aren't cheap.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So how do you fundraise for all the costs you incur, especially on the robot?
Yeah, so we have we have different ways that we fundraise. So one way that we do is it's actually what Neil is doing right now. We have these weekly summer camps that we hold in our makerspace for tons of kids, whether it be like to just introduce them in all fields of STEM. So we have like FLL camps, we have like a Harry Potter camp that it sounds like it's like fun, but it's like it includes a lot of different like STEM things through like the ideology of Harry Potter. So that gets us a lot of fundraising money. And another thing we do is we're located in like a local office complex. So we have this process called sponsor hunting. So we just go to like the local offices near us, like pitch our team, show them our portfolio, invite them for a tour of our makerspace and all that. So
And
there's a couple ways.
we also do like classes. So like whether it be like a 2-day class or like just classes that like meet every week. So like for example on Sundays, they're like 4 hours worth of classes that help fundraise for us and stuff like that. So and yeah, that's pretty much it for fundraising.
That's really cool. Do you guys like live close to where like your like space is? Because you guys seem to do like a lot of things.
Yeah. We live like 10 minutes away, 15 minutes
Yeah,
away.
we're pretty close. I mean, Ajay's a little bit far, but
Oh yeah, Ajay.
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah, he takes the train sometimes.
Yeah, we love Ajay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he like comes on random days too. It's a little funny.
That's cool.
Yeah, so last season we were pretty big on Connect. That's like kind of where we were focusing ourselves. So we recruited actually a second coach for ourselves. His name is Chene. And basically he has a degree in mechanical engineering, I think, and he was really helpful throughout the season, just like helping us constantly with like anything that we didn't really know how to do. Like if we like every once in a while we would run into an issue like, shoot, how do I do this? And he would just come in there and like do it within seconds, and like it was just really helpful like to have him around, and like he's a really easy guy to talk to. So it was really nice to have like a professional mentor in there, like who's like actually works in the industry and like has experience in things like this. So and we got that through like obviously like our sponsor hunting process and like things like looking around our community.
So, what is like the type of outreach that you guys typically do or try to strive for throughout the season?
Yeah, so we have. So I guess one example that we did is like there's a local elementary school near us, so we hosted sort of like I wouldn't really say STEM. It was like more of like a robot showcase. So we set up a couple tiles, have like some poles and cones and everything. There's like a stage and like the gym and all that's like an elementary school. So we just run a robot, answer any questions, give a quick presentation, all that stuff. And then we also, so yeah, that's just one example. Basically advertise first, advertise FTC, and then we hand out like flyers of our team, and then have the contact info on the back if you ever want to like come to one of our FTC or FLO programs and stuff like that. So that's like one example, some outreaches we do. And then we also have like Neil, go.
Just like overall, we like to strive for like throughout the season, we like to strive for like 3 big projects. So like some like 3 main things, like passion projects that we all want to focus on and strive for, so that we can like help some communities in terms of like STEM and like FIRST and introducing them to that, and like helping them out with FLO, or whether it be like FTC manufacturing, starting FTC teams, like anything in that realm. We just like try to do things like that, and then just make it really big for us and like in different ways, because we want to help lots of different people around the world.
And then like, yeah, I think Neil said we also have, it's not only like local stuff. We do definitely do like some international outreach. Like we established a STEM literacy program in Malawi, so that's like some sort of stuff we do.
It's a lot of.
What?
Oh yeah, that was
Okay.
super cool stuff,
everything
guys.
like
Okay, I think we had like another question. So,
Before
How do
I
you?
ask this question,
Okay,
how'd
yeah,
you
go ahead.
like what was like can you explain more about like the STEM literacy program you guys like made?
Yeah, sure. So, like, what specifically are you curious
Like
about?
like what is it about? Like would you all like how'd you guys like start it first, and then like what is like the main idea of like what you guys hoped it would be?
Yeah, so we got into contact with some person who works for this organization. It's Villages in Partnership, I think. So, basically what they wanted us to do is initially it started like this. So he wanted us to create an app to like track local water usage in the villages where there's not that much water. So, a widespread app, it would help him and his field team. Then slowly, we employed like a STEM literacy program. Think we're thinking about donating some EV3s to them soon. We've done that a lot this season. And, basically educate them about like basic things, like stuff like, like we can even do like math, like reading, some robotic stuff as well, stuff like that.
Like sending curriculums to people so that they can like learn about, like follow that curriculum. Like we make these curriculums for like a lot of different things. We use them for camps. We use them to teach Java, teach CAD, and things like that.
Okay, so that's actually really cool. How you're doing all that international stuff. So I have another question. How do you find? I know you mentioned this earlier with your second coach. You brought them on. So how did you actually find these sort of professional mentors, and how do you like maintain them to support your team? I know some of our mentors are really good help for us.
Well, I think it comes down to just like cold emailing and like LinkedIn, and like obviously like robot showcases and open houses help a lot to like find different people in different fields. Like for example, we have this one guy named Ed who's helped us a lot with like just mechanically and like engineering aspects of our team. So like, and he came in. He is the dad of one of our FLL students, and we found him like he came in while we were all working on the robot. Like I had to go teach some FLL class, and we ended up talking to him, and he explained like his job and stuff, and like it was just really cool how like you can make connections through like FLL and open houses, and then like also just cold emailing people and finding out about them and like how they can help us out and like how we can help them out. So yeah. So
All right, that's super useful information. I also wanted to a little stray away from our current topic and go back to the robot a bit. Um, so specifically on the outtake, I see you all have like a different type of outtake. It's not stationary. You have a turret and a lot of types of motion. So was that something that you guys like wanted to do or you saw that you needed to do um after states, or is that something you like recently added or something you had from before? Like please tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think we've always kind of kept this like design of, having a lot of, degrees of freedom on whatever subsystem it might be. So like you said, there's like a turret on the outtake, there's two sync servos with an arm and all that. So I mean, for looking at the turret, it gives us the ability that the driver can just, hit like two little bumpers or triggers on their controller and just make like micro adjustments without, like micro adjusting the robot with like the drivetrain causing everything like, shake or move or whatever. So that's one thing that helped us. And like obviously having like a linkage driven claw, or like a, yeah, it's a outtake is linkage driven, yeah. So like we definitely like I think we have like 4 servos just on that. So it's definitely a lot, but I think we like this design of having a lot of degrees of freedom and motion. It allows us to allows us to be more consistent without having to compensate by doing other things. If that makes sense.
it was also really helpful in auto, like using the turret, because like near worlds we realized that we weren't going to really use the turret in teleop because of the cone guide, but we use the turret a lot in auto, um, just because like you can't, if you're like too much over the center line, it's really difficult to score because of the other team, right? So the teleop, so the turret was really helpful to like just turn a little bit to the pole and like get there as much as we could. So it was just really helpful in that aspect.
Yeah, I know. We had something like super similar to that, and we added like a couple weeks before Worlds, so we had some time to implement it. And our coder actually did some super cool stuff with it. We were actually able to use our odometry to find out where we are on the field. And I was a second driver, and whenever I, went to the high goal, we could use that odometry information to actually aim the turret uh, in the vicinity of the high goal, no matter where we are around the pole. And then
Yeah.
using, like, we have a similar V guide to yours, a similar stationary guide. And then we actually had another extension. It's kind of complicated how we did ours, but we would have something similar to us. What we did though, we didn't actually use it that much in Teleup because we knew, because I was the one controlling it, and it's a little cumbersome. It takes a lot of time because I was manipulating with the joystick. So I know, did y'all ever use the turret that much in Teleup? I think you said you didn't use it that much.
At the beginning of the year, we we did kind of use it, but it was like very difficult to like get it perfect and like be really good at using it and getting it to the exact point. And then along with that, you said something about like your Odo being able to manipulate the turret. So we tried doing something like that, but with like two distance sensors. So like we would move our turret until two distance sensors saw the pole from like a certain distance away, and that's what we tried doing, and it worked. It worked well, but it caused some issues in just like tally up and autonomous. So that we ended up like taking it off and just like switching to a V guide because that was just a lot better.
Yeah, I know. We try to limit the use of the turret, not a lot, but in Teleup, because yeah, we pretty much only primarily used it in auto when we were like kind of horizontal with the cone stack, and then we would turn the turret to either the far high goal or the shared high goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I know we talked about our outtake. Could you tell me a little bit about your intake, your like intake arms, about that?
Yeah, so for our intake, this actually was so we have two very high torque motors in our base. I think it's like 129 and one, or so it's like a very high ratio, right? So it's a lot of torque, and we use like sprocket and chains to move it, prevent skipping. We initially had like two gears, but like it's just so much torque that like those motors would flex
Skips.
and the gears would skip and all that. It was really annoying. So we found out the proper chain length, use sprockets and everything to one in each drive pod, and then it's like a dual linkage, and then we have three sets of SAR 230s on each side, and then we just have our wrist mechanism, which allows us to control our cone angle, even pick up fallen cones if I wanted to, like that. And then obviously we have those two sync servos, and then we have our wide margin claw. So
Does your oh fine. Yeah,
no.
I was looking at your like wrist on Fun when you were demonstrating. It's super cool actually. So does your linkage use the full length of all three SAR 230s, or like do you have a little extra space that you don't use?
Yeah, so it's also like a dead linkage. So basically, it just extends out to the max potential and just locks.
Mm-hmm.
So that only we have the ability to retract it. So.
Okay.
There is actually a little bit like of extra room that you could have, because like the linkage is technically like like this, but like it's not. It's really like that useful. Like 0.5 inches or like 1 inch is like nothing.
That's like. Yeah, it's like a really small amount of stuff. I mean, it lets us do what we want with the extension, so that's all we need, really.
Yeah.
It's really.
And did you find using your intake extension, did you find like using it in Teleup was really beneficial towards speeding up your Teleup? Because I know a boss mentioned this in your actually fun, that a lot of teams have, even us, we had a super long intake. We could like stretch like really long distances, but we didn't find ourselves using it in Teleup. So were you guys like different in that you used it all the time, or is it something you rarely use in Teleup?
Yeah, so I think through the like the basically progression of our game strategy, that the extension worked well. So I mean, you can ask Ajay a little bit about our game strategy, how that evolved through the season. You want to talk about that, Ajay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the season, we were just like thinking about the game, like, oh, like let's look at the game, like how, like what, like bet, like what robot would like best fit like the game design and everything. And we like look at like a lot of aspects, like it was like a win-loss tie system, and like we like really prioritize things based on what we like saw from the game design. So like we knew that consistency was critical, and fast cycle times are key. So um at the beginning of the season, like really early on, we decided that we wanted really fast cycle times, which is why we went with the intake DR4B extension, everything. And um at like much later in the season, we realized that, going for ownership, just like instead of just going for random polls, just going for like ownership of a lot of polls, just very a lot useful, especially going against like really good teams at Worlds.
Yeah, I agree. That's something similar that we had throughout our league meets and states. We were cycling a lot, didn't really focus on ownerships, and we were able to get by off that. But Worlds is super competitive, and everyone's out here trying to ownership because realistically, the speeds at Worlds is you're gonna run out of cones anyway, so it doesn't really make sense to waste it on one pull. So yeah, makes sense.
I think the what do you call it? The slide extension in Teleop was really helpful for the human player, being me, because like I could like just put them in and like take my hand out, and it was like really easy for me because the I wouldn't have to worry about the whole robot's body like being inside of the like substation, and it was like really scary, like putting my hand in but like not knowing if the robot was completely out of like that vertical boundary line. And it was just really helpful for the human player. So every time I was playing with a team that had that vertical or that horizontal extension, it was really nice. So I would say that was really good for not getting penalties.
So would you like pre-extend and then drive up to the substation, or would you extend at the substation?
So we changed our strategy in terms of that like so many times. Like we were thinking, oh, like you should full extend when you're all the way back there because that just makes more sense. Like you'll have already extended. That's better. But we like I think we realized that it was just easier to like go up there and then extend, especially for the driver, because I think like when with all that outward force of like the slides, it was just weird for the driver to go out and like drive. So I think we ended up going to our specific location and then extending after that. So
Okay, okay. Did you prioritize any, like how was your specific game plan on the scoring at Worlds? So did you try to go for the high goals first and the middle goals, or the one nearest to you or far away, or like the corners first? Like how did you try scoring your progression of scoring?
Yeah, so like strategy at Worlds was like really development, I would like to say. With Arnav and Neil both being on Drive Team, I think they would agree with me. So, going to Worlds, we definitely like practiced and did like a lot of scrims. So, like before even like going to Worlds, we thought like, okay, yeah, definitely like we should be going for like getting points, going for high pulls. But obviously, we also know other teams would be doing that. So, we were just like, oh yeah, we should definitely go for circuits and just try to get high, like as many points as we can. But like once we went to Worlds, we knew like we like saw that it was like harder than it looked. It was like really hard getting these circuits done, and so like at the end, like or like when we were playing like matches in Worlds, we understood that trying to go for ownership, and like just going for ownership was just like so much more valuable than going for circuit. So we didn't have to waste like cones or time just trying to get to the other side of the to the other side of the field, scoring on both terminals, and like scoring these, and like that circuit can ultimate like break ultimately breaks because the other teams like also are good. So it's just that like ownership was just such a big key, and you can see in our elim matches too. It's just like like teams against us, and we're just like trying to get ownership of these polls, and like the other team is just trying to break our ownership and try to get ownership back. It's just on the same poll.
Yep, that makes sense. So, do you guys go to MTI?
We
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Or did? How was your MTI experience?
Uh, yeah. So MTI was, I'd say it was okay. We made it to the semifinals. It was us, Metrobotics, and Cruise Control. So we lost the first match, right? And then we had the second match. But what happened is our extension, our intake extension, one of the wires got stuck in our outtake. So that kind of screwed up our auto. And our main strategy was, getting a bigger lead in auto, getting 1+5. And since we're doing a mirroring strat, it's basically just extending the lead that you get in auto. So it just maintains that lead till the very end of the driver controlled period. So, we couldn't really do that strategy anymore, and our robot was kind of like busted till the end because their like outtake was a little messed up too. So, but it was a good experience. You met a lot of people. Like these events are always really fun, whether or not your robot performs well or not. You get to meet
Yeah.
a lot of people and see a lot of cool robots.
So I know the call is actually about to end like pretty soon in a couple, like 5 minutes. But one last question before we have to wrap it up is, I know we talked about like preparing for this next season and like what you guys have been doing in the off season, in terms of like the new game challenge and how we said that we like are all like, I know our team's also thinking it's gonna be something with like shooting too. But do you guys have any other ideas of what you guys think the next challenge is gonna be like specific?
It's probably just gonna be. I mean, actually, you know what, Ajay, you probably know most about this.
Yeah, Ajay probably knows.
So like I don't like I'm like out of the blue at the same with everyone, but like I'm really hoping it to be something what like we saw for FRC and during for us Fray Frenzy for them it was like Rapid React or something. I'm not sure what the name, but like we just saw them like intaking balls and then just like scoring them at different heights, and I thought that was like really cool. So I'm hoping to be able to use turrets this season.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Might be a little complicated mechanically,
Yeah.
but so just one final thing to end off. Do you have any advice for upcoming rookie teams about
Mm.
robot, notebook, business, anything, mentors?
Oh, one thing here, like I want to add here is like I mentor a couple of teams, and like I know like Arnav and Neil also like are helping teams that we know a lot. It's just that teams like love developing new skills, but also like during the season, if they do really want to do well, obviously going for consistency is like a key factor. Like a lot of teams love developing the robot and like just like doing like a lot of changes, but sometimes major changes like before tournaments or something can like be like not so great for the team. So just going for consistency, doing like stuff that like is really helpful in the season.
I
Yeah,
would say
definitely.
like,
Like, I'd say one thing that we've learned is that iterating is a big thing. So definitely iterate as much as you can, but make sure you don't do a very big design change right before, a big important competition, like Ajay said. And other than that, just, if you're a new team, get as much knowledge as you can while you have the time. The FTC Discord is a great place. There are lots of good documentations like FTC Lib, Gaming 0, all those things. So definitely just learn as much as you can. It's a lot of fun.
and then I think like during the off season, like you should just like start building. Like if you're a rookie team and you haven't played in any season, like the first thing I would do, the first thing that I did on my team was we bought a Strafer chassis from GoBuilda. We made it, and that worked out really well for us. We learned so much from it. Like just that experience as a whole of making the Strafer chassis was really helpful. I think is a really helpful thing for rookie teams just to like learn about FTC, like how it works, how everything works. And, yeah. So, totally.
All right. So that kind of concludes our Zip Talks. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to join our little session today.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Appreciate it. It was a good time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. It was cool meeting you guys.
Cool meeting.
See
Good
you
luck
guys.
in,
Nice to
See you
meet
in the
you.
next
for
season.
center
We hope
stage.
to-
Of course. Center State, good luck next season. Hope to see
Yep.
you at Worlds.
All right. I hope to see you guys at Worlds. Have a good night.
Bye.
See you guys.